right. Do you like? Oh, ka-chain, Steve. I have to tell you about. Can I? I don't know if you can hear me all right. Let me just make sure I have the right microphone on. And hold on, let me make sure. I don't even know how you're supposed to. Does this sound like I'm talking into this microphone? Or am I talking into that one? That's the thing. Here, let me see. Just want to make sure I get this right. Yeah. Yeah, Bob. This is going to go online anyway. So if you want to leave anything, then that's fine. Thanks for coming out though. Either way, it'll be on. If I end up just talking to myself, that's totally fine. Let's see. I can't find if I have the right microphone. Does this sound right though? Right here? Okay. Sound okay. All right. So I I decided like 3 hours ago to make ka-chain Steve. And so I took a dinosaur and I got a couple. I stopped at a dollar store on the way home, and Chain Steve's not doing so hot. This one here is not doing so well. Anyway, I got my Dremel out and started grinding down at just some dollar store knives, and I got I'm more of a woodworker guy. Like I made these chess sets and I make chess pieces and stuff. But I don't work with metal. And I got these metal slivers everywhere. So I was in the shower just plucking slivers out of my hands, and I had to just chuck those clothes. But I mean, prototype for later sometime. I don't know where I'm going to put this guy. Anyway, I have to have his one hand up because they just fall out. All right. Let me just look to make sure. All right. Well, I do have a whiteboard of thoughts for House of Chains, but before going into that, is there anything I didn't wrap up with Memories of Ice that you think? I didn't even bring up that the Panion Seer. Anyway, this is going to be a spoiler thing. I don't know why you would be here if you're. Yeah, spoilers. I didn't even kind of bring up that the Panion Seer was the one of the Jagged kids. I made that guess, but I can't believe I didn't bring that up. And also, I can't believe I didn't bring up that Tool, after having his little meetup with Talk and then going with his sister, even though, Tool being a mortal Tool now, going off, and then Heaton shows up and is all about Tool. And he sounds like he's going to be her next victim to that. So I have a whole. Is this all backwards for you guys? It looks like it's backwards. I don't know how I would change that. Last minute. Hold on. Oh, did you mention the epilogue with the Dead House Gates Easter egg? Oh, with Diker? That's what you mean, right? At the very end? That must be what you mean. Yeah. I was so excited about that because, if I think I could go and talk about Gardens of the Moon relatively well, because I spent quite a bit of time trying to kind of grasp onto everything. But Dead House Gates, I just rushed through. and a lot of Dead House Gates is forgotten to me, but Diker was one of my favorite characters, and I was so upset at the end with him. But I mean, it was implied that he was going to be okay, I think, right? Mm. Sorry, you said this works out all right. This isn't mirrored. It reads the right way for you guys. Okay. Well, we'll see. These are what I have so far, though. Of Yeah, I really liked. See, the thing with Gardens of the Moon, I read it really quickly, and if I would have gone through marking everything the way I did with Memories of Ice, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much. Now, I just enjoyed Gardens of the Moon because it was cool, but there's a lot that I bet I could go back to and and uh, and enjoy. But Dead House Gates, even though I really, really liked it, so much of it is forgotten to me. I went through most of Dead House Gates not even knowing that I should be kind of rooting for Coltane and the Chain of Dogs. I want to go back. I want to go back and like I didn't know. I didn't know who I was rooting for half of that book. I want to go back eventually and do it all again. Now I think in Memories of Ice I was kind of grounded well enough, but for House of Chains, uh, let's actually just get into that. With House of Chains, I think. Oh yeah, oh yeah, Dead House Gates sold me too on the series. It was so good. The ending of Dead House Gates. I'll just mention that first, and I'll just respond to things as they come up, because I do ramble. But Dead House Gates was the first time in the series where I finally felt some kind of emotional attachment for one of these characters. I mean, I did like characters from the first book, but I didn't really like them until I got to the third book. It was in the second book with some of that brutal ending that sold me, and I had to relive it all over again in a way with the last part of the last sentence or whatever with Diker. Is it Ducker or Diker? I can't quite figure out how I should be saying that, but it seems like Diker. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, I had to relive it all over again. Yeah. I wonder, has everyone here read? You've all read the whole series, whoever's here? I mean, doesn't either way. Either way. Okay. Oh, you're about to finish Midnight Tides. I just did a talk with someone that it will go on their channel maybe Monday or something this morning, and they said that Midnight Tides was their favorite to reread of the first 5 so far, because she's going through all of them again, and she said that was her favorite so far to reread. Yeah. You know, I could have just blown through Memories of Ice, and I think I would have still got a lot of the themes and enjoyed some of the cool stuff, but there are so many just intricate ties with that book that I think you're just gonna not appreciate as much of it if you unless you slow down with it. In some ways, I wish I got uh, this Karsa story as my entry to Malazan. I don't, Karsa would turn a lot of people off, but I think, I think, uh, I think it was the easiest one to get started in with just this one storyline to go through. And man, do we have some things to say about Karsa? That crazy guy. I think Karsa has some of the best foreshadowing for the rest of the book. And I think there's so much potential with that guy. Yes, I think uh Legia. Is that Legia? Am I reading that right? Yeah, I think Karsa, even though I think Perrin is the main character, as if I had to choose one as a main character, I think Karsa has a really strong opening. And I think, you know, I think uh, if cancel culture would ruin Karsa. I mean, no matter what he does now, from now on, a lot of people would just say, he's dead to me because of what he's done. But he has some potential, and I'm a sucker for a redemption story. Now, he's got to get rid of the rape. He's got to stop doing that. Uh, but if he can just kind of pull a gruntle and have his rage kind of directed in the right direction, I think I think that I think that Karsa's storyline could be awesome. Awesome. Because I mean, Gruntle is a bit of a raging maniac when he's fighting, but it's with this noble purpose. Now, I think with Karsa, he just has to be directed, and I'll get into it, but I think that direction might be towards these Seven Faces people. Let me just catch up on a couple little comments here. Okay. Yeah, I think that Gardens of the Moon, I went into if that was my first entry and I didn't know that people loved the rest of the series, uh uh then yeah, I don't know if I would have loved it. Yeah, yeah, the thing with the Gruntle thing, I think he just when he when he kind of raged, his transformation with Stawny, I think I mean, it's not noble to go out and start just destroying everyone. But that transformation that he had there, kind of like fatherly just rage. And also when he brought in this child to these parents of Capistan who were just waiting for the Grey Swords to bail them out. There's this kind of, I mean, maybe not noble, but it was directed in a way that could help get these guys out of a jam. Without that happening, it sounds like Capistan would have just been rocked. So, I mean, that's how I read that. Anyway, um, let me talk about first this prologue. This prologue, because it was super short. I liked all the prologues so far. I think my favorite of the three is the second one so far with Felician and them kind of walking to getting in that lineup going towards the mines. But I also loved the third one. Really, actually, I should say the third one is my favorite one, but the second one had some impact as well. The third one, super short, and I am all here for the Tist Edur. And also, what I know about it or what I can glean is that let me make sure I get the Warren right. This Warren is this same flooded Warren from the second book with the headless oarsman, and Karsa eventually makes his way there to the same place. And it sounds like these Tist Edur guys are probably the same ones from the Nascent. These Tist Edur guys are the same ones from that maybe they run into. And I really think it's cool because that flood happened. Hey, that's fine. Thank you, Matt. Let me tell you something about how I got into Malazan while unless Matt's going to go right away. But with this Matt's fantasy book review, I was sometimes I would read an awesome book that I just loved, a 5 out of 5. And I would go and see reviews, and then Matt would have the same kind of taste. He would have a 5 out of 5 for him as well. And also when I found a book that just wasn't great, at least kind of my opinion, I would see that as well on his channel. And so when I saw that he liked Malazan, and I thought, well, this guy's got some of the same taste as me. There's a lot of content creators that I really, really like, but he's kind of like my uh I don't know. He's I've linked up with a lot of his recommendations so far. So that's why I bumped it up and dipped into Malazan. He was one of the reasons for that. Spirit animal. There you go. And I took off my beard, or else I would still be the spirit animal. I'm going to still have this online, but thanks for showing up. And uh sometime in the future maybe we can link up and do something. But thank you for your recommendations for your books and stuff. Where was I? Okay, the prologue. With the prologue. Um, I think there's some really cool things set up. In the third book, there were some really cool things set up as far as just the arc. Um, there are cool things uh, and as far as the themes. Now, in this one, if I was to guess what the theme is going to be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm kind of halfway there. It sounds like there is this, I mean, a lot of it seems to be all these different people that are um it has this pure kin sort of thing, where this who is the guy from the prologue that got shorn and then got sent off, got shorn and then left there. And basically everyone's just going to drown there anyway, because the flood was happening this whole time until until I think just the day before the prologue. Okay. Okay. So um really cool stuff in the prologue. One of the things that I think it is also setting up is there's all these people just pulling apart, these communities being pulled apart, and also within Corsa's kind of storyline. I love the idea of lost civilizations and kind of coming back together. And I think one of the themes as well is breaking the repetition of things that has happened, at least certainly with Karsa's storyline. Now, Karsa's father is trying to do that passively, but if people could just kind of move Karsa's shoulders in the right direction, I think he could be really the person to break the cycle. Uh, the troll. There it is. Troll. Okay. I also find it so interesting in the third book, this idea of shadow versus chaos. Because I'm a big mythology kind of guy. I just think it's interesting. And chaos, I love that this starts with this flooding warren, because chaos in all sorts of mythologies, in it's usually expressed by water. It's expressed that way. I think in the Chinese mythologies, it's more vapor, but in Greek and Egyptian and all this stuff, it's water. In the Old Testament, in the Bible, whenever you see kind of water, this is chaos. So when you see Noah's flood, it's like it's like being protected from overwhelming chaos when they're walking across the Red Sea. This isn't going to be a Bible study, but when they're walking across the Red Sea, it's like this parting of chaos. And usually it's like light versus chaos, or order versus chaos. And it's very interesting that they're using shadow. Also interesting, just because I'm a fan of this kind of stuff. I like that the Leviathan, which is kind of supposed to be this beast that lurks within the chaos in like the Bible, is mentioned in this book. This Leviathan, who is the kind of the inspiration for Moby Dick. And now when we're in this flooded warren, we have these big catfish that eat people and whatnot. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. So I'm just a fan of that. Now, the only I was thinking about chaos and shadow this whole time. And I think I started to kind of clue in near the end of the last book. Well, that's when it was mentioned. But I am only at chapter 5. So it's the first part of subbook 2. And it has this epigraph that kind of was a bit of a light bulb for me. It says, there are folds in this shadow, hiding entire worlds. And one of the coolest parts in the second book, or one of the coolest kind of themes of the second book, is is all these different warrens being corrupted. But it sounds like if shadow could be used to kind of, I don't know, I'm really theorizing here, but if shadow could be used to kind of hide, uh if kind of hide others, do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't even know if I'm expressing that quite right. But if it's able to kind of hide within the shadow, that might be a way of kind of uh pushing out chaos until light can show up and like so that's what I'm guessing. Have this have Dragnipur doing its thing, pushing away chaos, hiding people. Hood opened up his warren for people to use. I wouldn't go into to Hood's warren if it doesn't sound like something I would do. But oh, that's a really neat. I yeah. So a critical dragon, both darkness and light are absolutes. Shadow is mutable and flexible. Okay. So that's a half light bulb for me, because I'm gonna think about that, because that is interesting. But I do think it is to kind of keep it at bay for the time being, until I know, I'm guessing that the light will eventually show up, and that's going to be like what the big moment. But maybe not. I really think it's cool that shadow is so it's not just linked with chaos. It seems like it uh kind of flirts with chaos, but is its own thing. Okay, let's talk about Karsa. Unless you want to keep talking about shadow and stuff, but let's talk about Karsa as a character. In my own thing that I'm writing, it kind of reminds me of Karsa. I don't have a person as much of a maniac. And when you start a kind of an idea of a character with "May you slay a legion of children," I thought, okay, that's going to turn off some people. If he can just get it down to like a handful of children, that would be good. Uh, but he's got some room to grow, obviously. And I like that there's all these legends of his grandpa and how awesome his grandpa is. And then when they get to Silver Lake and when they get to this town, they're like, no, he was just a sweet, shivering, nervous, timid boy. And we took him in until he went crazy and killed us all, killed a bunch of us. Um, but I really like the grandpa. I hope he gets called out by Karsa, and I like the dad as well. Um, I I kind of think it's neat. I mean, it's not neat. Okay. So I figured I would do this live just in case I need to get canceled. I might as well just be canceled on the spot. Rape is wrong. Okay. Okay. and sieging and this stuff is wrong, but it's very interesting that I didn't catch on until a while that they are fighting against this inbreeding sort of situation of all the tribes going out. It's kind of like they have this thing that they're getting rid of the men, and they're kind of not only reestablishing kind of a pure seed. uh it's just interesting. It's interesting, and it's super controversial to like this book. I'm sure people go both ways, hating it and loving it. It reminds me of, I have Conan, just Conan right there, and this is totally a Conan character. Uh, really interesting, and I think his foreshadowing he's got the strongest foreshadowing of any character in the series so far, I think. Unless I'm missing someone. If you think someone has better foreshadowing so far, uh, let me know. I I let me just yeah. Uh the I didn't, in the second book, I didn't really catch the Toblakai situation all that much and what they were. So I wasn't expecting the big reveal, which we will get to. But yeah, I didn't really realize that these children, I mean, once they started saying that he's a young buck of 40 years old, I thought, okay, this is an ancient sort of giant race. I started to catch on there, and I started to think, are they related to the Barghast? Are they the Barghast? Are they these Fen? Are they related to the Trell, like Mappo? Um, so that's a really, really cool uh, sort of reveal at the end. And I think I started to think that that might happen when they were in the cave, which I will get to. Um, when they started to, when they said, "Hey, are you they got the name wrong," and she said, "Yeah, I am that, but you got my name wrong." I thought, okay, the Treblors probably are not remembering really who they are, and really cool. I did catch on that the Otatarl that they are using on their swords was that, and thought it was interesting that he would eat he would kind of lick this blood oil and become kind of, uh, you know, sorcery and stuff wouldn't work on him. I thought that was really cool. Oh, sorry. Um, these seven faces, these seven faces. Um, I think my theory, not knowing anything about these seven faces, is either, I mean, the main theory is I think that they are definitely being uh, influenced by the crippled god, and I either they are the Treblor's old gods, or they are some other people or group or ascended humans or something faking that they are the Treblor, the Toblakai sort of gods. But I think either way, when you see chains, when Karsa was in this other realm and they were saying, let's just ditch Karsa. He's forgotten. Let's forsake him because he's forgotten us. And he says, "No, I'm still with you." And they use these chains. In my idea, chains means bad. So I think he's going to be. He thinks he's being led along for something good. In my thoughts, but my thinking is these guys either are deceived or are just not good. Now, when the stars were starting to wheel, which means it's in the north, right? Uh, they just they just vanished, which I don't understand that. Um, but I'm excited to see what the heck is going on with these Seven Faces. Oh, and another thing with the Seven Faces, it sounds like they maybe use the Warren of Rock, the Warren of Stone, or somehow linked to that. And I think of Quickben in that third book in Capistan, creeping through the Warren of Stone. So I don't know, but I if I had to guess, there's some kind of link there. And yeah. So the thing that made me so upset so far in this book that I'm so sad about was going to be my favorite character is I thought we were going to get the most awesome companion in this Dellum guy who got smacked in the head and lost thought blood, which doesn't sound like it's ever good to lose thought blood. But I was so excited about this. I was hoping we would have Dellum the whole bloody series. I was hoping he would just be a dog for the rest because I thought he was hilarious. I mean, tragic, but awesome. Very excited. I I don't hope that happens to anyone else, but I was pretty disappointed by that. Okay, so let's get to this cave because this is where everything started to become interesting for me because this is where we get writing. We get Icarium mentioned, which I'm excited to get back to that. I hope that Mappo and Icarium are clearly in this. We get the Talani Mass, which I think this is pre-ritual because the ritual happened in the 33rd Jagged War. I think this is somewhere earlier than that. So it sounds like perhaps, if I'm getting it right, Icarium was being nice Jagged for a while, if I'm understanding that right, and helped to put this stone over this alien lady, which I don't even know what to make of her. As far as I can tell, she's not Kachain Shamal, but she's probably another ancient sort of race, which sounds like she's been flicking animals away for the last, who knows, 200,000 years, something like that. Really interested in seeing what is up with her. And I'm sure that's just going to open a can of worms. To me, that seems dangerous. And I like that her name is Calm, bringer of peace. Yeah. Yeah. I think this bringer of peace is, I mean, relative and subjective. I don't see any peace coming from this lady when she gets going. Maybe I'm wrong about that. And I like this idea that there's this advanced civilization that they want to know about, and or that what was the name of the other Treblor, that his cousin Bayroth? Yeah, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about this ancient civilization from long past. All right, let me just get to a couple other things, and then I can ramble about something else. The Path of Bone was interesting. I mean, we knew right away that was probably Talani Mass making this. I mean, either they made the path or it was someone who got their path, then their bones, and made that path. I think it's interesting that the grandpa is clearly kind of full of it in some way. Talk about Torvald. I'm excited about. I'm still waiting for Ralik Nom to wake up in that realm that he's at, where Raced is. It sounds like he's just sleeping there in the same way that maybe Talk was when he was sleeping in his place. So I don't know if they are cousins or something, but I thought he was. I think he's awesome because he's also brings up a change in Karsa, the first person that he will see as an ally and not someone who is to be pushed aside and just kind of stepped on. I think he's a hilarious character, and especially when he's asking Karsa to just die. You know, I've been down here so long. Why don't you just rotate this log and bring us all in under the water? And and then he's like, actually, I changed my mind. And Karsa says, well, I didn't. And then he spins it. And anyway, I think it's awesome. I was so upset when I thought he was dead. And I'm glad that he's still around. And he is with the Grawl. Now I can't remember. I can't remember who the Grawl are. I had a note of that. Let me just might not even be worth it. I can't remember who the Grawl are, but I know we've seen them before. And yeah, I don't have much more to say about him. But I do have some stuff to say about that bone guy that they run into. That I don't know his. Oh man, there's so much to talk about. Okay, so they go into this warren. I'm interested in that because I don't get it, and I can't go through all the scenes like I would like to. But these are just the things that interest me. I'm interested in this bone guy that is on the north. I mean, he's not a bone guy, but he collects bones, and he's trying to remake all these different creatures and things. And then he just kicks Corvald's butt when he kind of offends him. I don't know who that is. The one who raided Aaron before faking his drowning. This doesn't mean I don't know if it's someone we know yet, and don't tell me. I don't know if this means this is that the seam or something like that, but we'll find out. I'll find out. Okay. And the last main guy that I want to talk about that I was excited to see back is Leomin, who I'm not a huge fan of the Sheik. So in the second book, I thought he was kind of interesting as this bodyguard, and I believe he's the one that kind of pronounced Felicin as the new Sheik reborn. And I think it's interesting that we get kind of Karsa being kind of collected by this guy. And also, I think it's interesting that Callum's kind of contact, whoever it was with the M name, kind of the one that gave Callum the book, the Holy Book of Remembrance or whatever it was called. I think it's interesting that now this Leomin knows that he's turned. But I don't know what I think of Karsa going and being brought to these guys. Now, something I am excited for, I hope, is in this, and I've seen it just in the Dramatis Personae. I hope we get to Tavor. I hope we get a lot of Tavor, because she is someone who I am super intrigued by. Super intrigued by. I'm intrigued by the whole house Perrin, but Tavor, this cold kind of very calculated. I think in some ways she's going to be. I hope she becomes my favorite Perrin, because even though I felt so hard for Felicin, I felt so bad for her. I kind of started to hate her in the same way I got sick of like Crocus. I just started to not like her. But I hope that Tavor really has some. I hope she has things figured out, and I'm not sure if he does, if she's going to be even more cold, but I hope she doesn't. I hope we find out some cool things about her, because there's some cool foreshadowing, I think, but who knows? I'm excited. Okay, let me go to the very end of the fourth book, and I wrote some. I'm not writing as much as I am in the third book, but I still have some notes at the end of the fourth book with the big kind of reveal that Leomin gives, that the Teblor are Toblakai, as far as I can tell. I mean, that's pre-ritual. The Toblakai were pre-ritual people around the time of the Talani Mass, right? I'm supposed to know that, right? Because that's what I think. They are a scattered people. I knew that. Related to Fen, the Fen that are on Seven Cities. Yeah. Um, once very advanced. So a lot of the stuff that we are reading, like that very fancy language, must be Toblakai. But I also found it interesting that maybe the Jagged also used to kind of, it's related to, first I thought that maybe uh, Krull, or no, not Krull. Now I'm not talking about Krull. I first thought that Karsa maybe had Jagged in him. Um, but it sounds like he's more of this Toblakai, and I don't know if they're all related. Uh, but it sounds like Karsa might be a distant kind of blood relative sort of thing to the Barghast and probably Mappo, which is cool, I think. Uh now that now that he has this writing on him, I didn't I don't know if I missed something with that. I don't know if he's being claimed like Gruntle was being claimed. But that was very cool in the third book. I hope he's claimed by someone good. Uh Perhaps not Fenner, but uh man, I'm excited to get back to the Gray Swords, by the way, and talk and all that situation. Let's see. Is there anything more? Yeah. So I'm just not a huge fan of him going to the Shaik and this rebellion and stuff because I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. Do we ever get to the Malazan Empire? Because I'm 3,000 books in and I want to know more about this Malazan Empire. Or is it just, it's the namesake of the book, or are they just kind of an influence? But we haven't gotten much of Felicin. We haven't gotten much of everything else. Oh, they're in the Tales of the okay. So they couldn't fit them into 10 almost 1,000-page books with the name Malazan. They couldn't talk about the Malazan Empire. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. I should have thought it. I should have known that. You can only fit so much. Okay. Well, um, did I say 3,000 books? Oh, that's my wife. Okay. 3,000 pages. Okay. Um, let's see. So I think if there's going to be a theme in this book, um, go to bed. If there's going to be a theme in this book, it has to be this breaking of the chains, which it seems like him going back to the Treblor or his clan and kind of unifying them in some kind of Peloponnesian war sort of thing, unifying the tribes like Philip II or whoever was Alexander's dad. Sounds like that's what. Okay, to be fair, this series is called Malazan Book of the Fallen, and the other is novels of the Malazan Empire. So basically, I am reading the series that just has everyone that's going to die. All right. Good to know. I'm looking forward to getting to the other ones. Didn't another one just come out right away? Um, really looking forward. And I wonder if I should go do some of those other series in between. The plan for right now is just to get through these 10 books. Uh, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. So, yeah. Anything I missed? I mean, I think I got everything from the board. Anything I missed? What's your favorite book? Does anyone really love this one? Because I haven't gotten really to tier lists because I don't want to know or like rankings of the books, even though I knew that Memories of Ice is one of the favorites. Um, I have heard that some people this one is one of their least favorites. Uh, I don't know, but I wonder how many people really, really love this one. Yeah, Forge of the High Mage is part of another series by Ian C. Asimov, Passive Ascendancy. Looking forward to getting to his stuff too, because I'm just interested. I'm just interested in the world that we're in. Okay. Last three are your favorite. Awesome. Yeah. So far, I've just liked them more and more, but I really, really, really liked. I was sold by Deadhouse Gates. The first one, I kind of went in knowing that everyone says to just hold on, but this third one, I thought this is like my favorite. This is potentially one of my favorite series. The Crimson Guard. I'm not sure exactly who these guys are. They show up sometimes, and apparently they're kind of on Kaladin Brood's sort of side over there, but I'm still not exactly sure they're like House of Chains is one of my favorite. I'm a huge fan of the Seven Cities side of the story. Oh, so are you saying like the other who probably with Tavor and all these other people? Man, there are a lot of Marines and infantry and stuff that show up in this. Okay. I'm also a Seven Cities guy. So people like the other part that's away from Karsa. That's what you're saying? Like another storyline that goes on. Did everyone like Lady Envy's storyline as much as I did? I mean, not just her, but I loved that group. I loved that group. I was so excited every time I got with them. And I loved that everything in Memories of Ice was just converging into one point. Really, really, really awesome. Wondering if I'm missing anything here. I think, let's see. And does anyone even understand these maps? I stare at these maps sometimes. At least I did in the first book. I've learned not to because I look at these maps and I can't find anything almost. It took me until like 150 pages in the first book just to finally locate Pale. There it was right in the middle. I guess I should have known that. Better maps on the internet. Yeah. And I just found out from a talk I did earlier with someone that there is at the start of Gardens of the Moon, the newer editions, which looks just like this, has a bit of a preface that help people kind of understand what they're getting into. That would have been great. That would have been great. Some kind of preface that says, "Hey, you're jumping in right at this ending of this kind of battle going on and da 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 da." It took me a while just to figure out who Warren was. Like all these different Warrens. I had like, yeah, I didn't understand what was going on, but it was very cool. Did everyone feel like the third book was the first one that they really kind of grasped everything, sort of? Because the third book was the first one where I thought, okay, I'm able to sort of understand things. I don't understand all the history behind it, but I'm not left in the dust with anything. I felt like every page of Memories of Ice was the first one where it was like, okay, I can understand this series now. Anyway, Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, I am going to make sure that I at least get to the halfway point in this book by next week. I don't know if I'll do another live thing like this. It might work because it's fun to get some interactions here. I don't know what kind of stuff. I don't want to do necessarily the scene by scene chapter stuff like I did in Memories of Ice. I think I could still a little bit, maybe not quite as in detail, but I like looking into some of the themes and stuff. But by next week, I'm going to try to at least be halfway, if not further, And let me know if you would like to do another thing like this in the future. I would love to get Steven Erikson on at some point in the future because I have a lot to grill that guy on. Even though I loved his books, I have a lot to ask him about. I guess grill is the wrong term. But thank you guys for showing up here. Thank you. This has been fun. And I got to go put my kids down. It's much too late. But thank you. And I've been so grateful for this community. It's been really cool. I haven't found any nasty people yet. Everyone's been nice. And I would love to get other people on, other people who talk about Memories of Ice, or sorry, not Memories of Ice, but of the series. I would love to get other people on. So if you know any that I don't know of, you can let me know, or you can leave a comment on their videos saying, "Hey, why don't you talk to this guy?" And I would be totally happy to do that because I'm just happy to talk this series to anyone. Now I'm going to go. I still have these slivers in my hand from making Kachane Shamal Steve, and I'm going to try to make an even better version soon. And maybe I'll give this to some little boy, some kid to play with. Right? All right. I will talk to you guys later. And thank you for showing up. This will be fun. This was fun. So thanks.